It's just me sitting here. Can't really see Gus right now. I don't have a good camera on him, but he's here, jamming on the booklet. How's it sounding? It's not really a synth music night, so we don't necessarily need the synth to sound good. It's good to get a gauge. So we are kicking things off tonight a little bit later, but we're here and we are live, and in a little bit we'll be joined with a new synth friend. So excited about that. And turns out we're also doing a giveaway, so this is like a special giveaway edition of Synth Friends. So we'll see what kind of business we get into this evening with our good friend Robert St. John, who is in our Cosmic Take Music Club. You know about it. Usually a link that comes through the chat for no more Bukla.
Sorry, you got me now.
Welcome to the stream, Augustus.
Hey.
Welcome in, everyone. This is going to be really fun. I'm excited for us to chat with Robert tonight and to do this giveaway.
And yeah, hell yeah.
Hell yeah. So I think everything's coming through, and I think at some point we're going to trigger this giveaway experience, and it'll be something that happens in the chat in response to what we're doing in the stream. So it's only really a live stream experience for anyone who wants to be part of that. It's going to be synth related, and we'll get to it. As you can tell, I'm kind of excited. So
we are.
I'm like ready to get into this conversation.
I'm pumped.
I don't really have too much like business to.
You don't have no business?
I don't have no business this afternoon, this evening, today,
I have some business.
Yesterday, tomorrow. What is time? Everything's coming through. Thank you, Daniel.
I have some business.
I'm going to connect through our portal with our friend Robert and see if his spaceship has docked near us, close enough for us to exchange video conferencing.
It's Wayne.
Video conferencing, by the way, is very Jetsons, very retro-futuristic. The way we do it is...
dude, we take that shit for granted, man.
The way we are utilizing it is much less aesthetically pleasing than it would be in like a Jetsons experience. But there was this one time we went to a art gallery exhibit, and they were playing some Jetsons in one of the rooms.
I remember that.
Without further ado, let's bring in our friend Robert St. John and get into the good conversation that we want to have.
Was that the Pierre Cardin exhibit?
It was the Pierre Cardin exhibit. It was already a fashion exhibit at an art gallery, so it was already bound to be weird. Welcome in, Robert.
Thank you.
Yay, let's make sure we can hear you and that everything's working.
Yeah, sure. So I can see and hear you clearly?
Great. Fantastic. You know what? I need to turn off my Wi-Fi, and I think we'll be good. Yeah, everything looks great. We're getting positive feedback from the chat. So thanks for joining us from your synth cave.
Synth box.
synth box. I love it.
I think it's more of like a synth lair.
I wanted to say lair, but then cave came to me, and I was like, yeah, I'm getting real cave vibes.
Okay.
Which I like, you know.
Dungeon. I mean, it is actually in a basement, so.
Okay. Dungeon. Yeah. There you go.
Under the stairs. How
about Fallout?
Yes. There you go.
This is where I'll be when the bomb drops. So.
Yes.
I really want one of those. Like, I feel like before
underground.
Before I would move from my current house, which I will say is a pretty affordable mortgage.
Just in case anybody
was wondering.
Asking.
I would build a Fallout shelter before I would buy another house.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to have one.
Yeah, me too. I do you remember old MTV video, Donald Fagen,
Oh shit.
Wow.
What
I
is
wasn't
that?
expecting that.
Yeah, neither was I actually. But
I love
but
that we brought that out.
it's actually you guys would love it. It's so retro. It's the song is New Frontier, and it's very heavily features animation of people happily going about life in their fallout shelters,
Oh, sweet.
and
Wait,
it's,
what's it called?
Donald Fagen from Steely Dan
But as
is
a solo
called.
project?
Yeah, it was a solo project off of the Nightfly album, and the song is New Frontier.
Was there a Phase 90 involved?
Yeah, look it up later.
I'm writing it down for myself.
Yeah, no.
Like yeah. Because I'll forget. But I could always watch this back too. But I wanted to write it down, so I'll Google it later.
I can't believe you guys have me on, and the first thing I throw out there is Donald Fagen. See, yes, I'm a huge Steely Dan. I'm a huge Steely Dan fan, and no, I'm not. Wait,
it's something about us that elicited the Steely Dan reference.
Are you coming?
Synth Friends is like that. We just
blame
never
it
know.
100% on Jacqueline.
It is my fault, 100%.
All right, just in case it doesn't happen again, here's our special surprise guest. Just walked in.
Wow, he had to bring out the secret weapon early to make up
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, she left after the check. It was like, well, this isn't interesting. I'm out of here and everything. It's like, well, I bet she won't come back, but nope, she hears us talking, so.
She knows where the action is. Wait, what's her name?
This is Lara Croft.
Fantastic.
Because she jumps all over the place. She, one of our 2 Sphinx cats. The other is Sekhmet. A bit older. Her real name is Ankasen Amun. We all of our Sphinx cats have Egyptian names, but Lara Croft is the one that's stuck. So
definitely, have had synth cats on the Synth Friends, but these are the first Sphinx cats.
Yeah,
they're a handful. They're closer, they're closer to monkeys than cats.
Ooh, okay.
We should keep a document
Should we talk about the tortoise?
We should keep a document of everyone's pets.
That's not creepy at all.
And then send
find out their
like
birthdays.
A holiday card.
Yes, just for the pets.
Just to the pet of the person.
Synth Friends pets. I gotta think about that one. I like it. Wow. Okay, so we were talking to someone today who has a tortoise. And that was a first for me, meeting someone who has a tortoise. And it made me want a tortoise.
How old was the tortoise?
New. Baby.
Yeah. They live forever.
That was the thing. They were like, yeah, this tortoise is going to outlive me. And I was like, that is the perfect pet.
Yes.
Except for when somebody kills it after you die.
No, we don't.
No. You have to make legal arrangements to make sure that you can go peacefully and not worry about them and everything. But
exactly.
Yeah, I think about all the pets that have come and gone, and and it's like it gets harder every time. And if I ever actually get old, at some point I'm going to have to start thinking about. Well, wait a minute, what's the average lifespan here and everything? Who's going to outlive who? And so
it's something I heard come up during the Queen's funeral. In the many days of coverage about that, they talked about her dogs and how at some point she stopped breeding them because she didn't want so many of them to outlive her. Or be left without her. That you're right. You have to manage that as well. Wow, this got somber.
Wow. Happy Halloween, everybody.
So your sweatshirt says Cherry, your hoodie says Cherry Audio, right?
Yeah, I work for these guys.
Fantastic.
Cool. Well, obviously we knew that, but that's super cool. And we I'll stop playing games now.
Yeah. Welcome in, everyone. We're here for the giveaway. Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No.
Get it out. Go ahead, get it out of the way, and then everybody can leave.
Yeah, right. No, we're definitely
at the end.
You better wait. No, what I was gonna say is that was something that came up in response to us announcing that you were gonna be our synth friend, and that we had, this new launch that, there was a demo and all that kind of stuff, and the response was like, "Oh, I love Cherry Audio." A couple of people were telling us like that sparked whole conversations, with people just so because of Cherry Audio. So I just wanted to relay that back to you. And let you know that I think people are very interested in hearing about it.
Yeah, it's like we're small but getting bigger every day. I have the conversation, never heard of you guys, much less.
Oh, cool.
It's I think we made some waves this year. I mean, I've only been here since January, so but I definitely feel the rise over this year.
Oh, that's long enough for sure to like feel a shift.
Yeah. So no, that's great to hear. I mean, we've been really busy and we're doing weird things. Signs is a weird synthesizer.
I should grab a link.
I didn't think so.
No, but that's why it's like I couldn't wait for you to have it. It's like, you were one of the when I first saw it, it was like you were one of the first people that came to my mind.
Wow, that's
absolutely true. That's absolutely true.
That's not only flattering, but also really good data. We're always tweaking our shit, and it's good to know
that the waves are being reciprocated. Yeah, what we're putting out.
The frequencies were absorbed.
There you go.
That's awesome to hear, and very, very flattered to be a part of it, and super enjoyed playing with the synth. Still enjoyed playing with the synth.
So here's the link to.
I really like it, man. Like, I love sampling it into all the samplers that I have. Like, it's really fun to sample. I tend to sample my synths anyway. That's sort of like my preferred way of making music. I'm not like a super big keyboard player or anything. So
yeah, me neither.
Sampling is a lot more fun for me. I can get it right and then use the samples to my liking.
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't know if you saw, but someone had just taken signs and used it to replicate some obscure algorithm from the Buchla 700.
Yeah. Aaron Lancherman.
That's the one. I wanted to make sure that you knew about that or saw that and everything, because it was like that was just out of the blue.
He's pretty famous in the Buchla community, I
guess,
say.
Yeah.
As a guy that has put up some DIY resources. And he's a professor at Georgia Tech. And this year, actually, he's just been attacking YouTube with all these videos, going over like the circuits and the Buchla stuff in depth. Like I'm talking like at that engineering school level. And it's really good.
I'm one of those people.
Way over my head. Like I'm not.
Yeah, me too. Because and I deal here at work and just in the industry, I deal with these kind of folks every day and everything, and I probably get 20% of it. But the 20% you get is really interesting. Why is this filter, so much different than this filter, but I can get just enough to, it's like, that is interesting,
Yeah. No, it'll put me to sleep if I'm having trouble, like that's, I don't think I can survive.
Says the person who reads manuals for fun.
It's not that I don't enjoy technical information. It's just that, like Robert is saying, honestly, like I can get just enough to keep my attention to an extent, but it definitely doesn't have my full passion and tension, you know.
You're like, oh,
attention.
cool. Let me go play with that.
Yeah, so that's just my take on it. But like, I would love to see the Bookless 700 thing. I haven't watched it yet.
Ooh, that's a fun link for the Discord.
Here, if you want,
Or you can drop it in the chat. Absolutely.
I can drop it in the chat
Thanks
right now.
so much for being like of modern mind.
Yeah, you're on the Twitch scene. I want to welcome in Dwoger, return hanger.
Woj.
Thanks for being here. Very cool. We'll definitely be checking that out.
Yeah.
Can you tell that this is the first Twitch chat I've ever participated in?
No.
Second. Quatermass.
I knew it. I was like, you seem like you got this.
No, I've actually avoided Twitch for ages.
Are you telling us that the Quatermass stream was the first time you'd ever?
That was the first time that I've really been involved in everything, and this is a whole new level.
This is a whole new level.
Yes.
Wow.
Next week I will have my own channel.
You'll be taking over the platform by next
I will
month.
buy you guys out. I will buy Twitch. I will sell it to Kanye, and it's like it's going to be a very, very busy next couple weeks. So
yeah, woo! That's a whirlwind that you've been caught up in. That was amazing. Well, I appreciate your
I feel like you just described the trajectory of the average modular synthesist.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm just gonna buy this one starter set.
And then the next thing you know, they're buying ads on social media for their course that they're teaching on it. You know,
right.
That whole
right.
That was a sick burn, Gus. I thought you were gonna say they're putting out ads to sell their services so that they can buy more modules.
No.
But I guess that is basically what you were saying.
I didn't invent this meme. I've seen this before, where other people have pointed this
the pipeline
sort of path. Yeah, pipeline.
My wife's involved in. My wife makes jewelry. My wife makes jewelry, and sees the same thing happen all the time. She'll it drives her nuts and everything. She'll go, oh my God, this person's running an ad on Facebook and teaching a course and everything. And she was 3 months ago. She was asking me all these questions and everything that were so basic. And
ooh, I know someone who experienced that from the other end. But yeah, this exact in a different but similar to jewelry. Yes. Ooh, that just sparked so much for me. I'm like, wow, that's such a subculture. People who are makers and sellers and creators and being online and all of this. This is kind of what Synthfriends is too. It's this subculture of the internet that we're trying to foster space for where we have fun and feel good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Which I mean, I'll have to be diplomatic, I guess, or it's just the online synth community is interesting. So
it is a big broad scene.
It's a big broad scene, but there's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of competition. It's there doesn't often feel like a lot of community and everything. I mean that's one of the reasons I jumped on Cosmic Tape Club so quickly and maybe early on and everything, but
yeah, I think so.
Good vibes, just good vibes. It's one of the.
It's it's a beast that's way out of our control at this point. So we've really been happy to see that it's turned.
I was gonna say that's exactly
a positive space. We definitely Jacqueline actually used to be a pretty big stickler for everybody being on their best behavior. So back in the day, you were probably a part of it, in the early days. She would go in and literally tell people you can't post this stuff this much,
oh yeah.
She'd be do a search
Like we already
Right.
posted that yesterday. Like I think
You were like a little bit of a what's the word? Like governor of sorts.
A governess.
Yeah, governess.
I think what I was gonna say is that I've always felt like every space that we sort of are inhabiting or like cohabitating with other people in, specifically when you drill down to the more avant-garde side of electronic music, is like just naturally a little bit more laid back, a little easier to communicate with. I think, I don't know if it's like, we talked about this a little bit last week with Carolyn about like, it's not necessarily like genre based. It can be more kind of like, modular versus hardware versus digital and software and all these things. And there's like all these different camps and like a lot of us cross over into them. So this is our just like little pocket of like, where we like to talk about more of the like origins of electronic music. And I feel safe there. I feel happy there.
Because it gets, I can't remember who I was talking. I got into a long conversation with someone yesterday, and they go, "Oh, I'm so sorry that I've been chewing your ear off for so long." I said, "Oh no, please don't apologize. This is great. I wouldn't talk on a phone for 2 hours in this day and age if I didn't want to." I said, I said this was, and we were talking about synths and trading stories and stuff and things, and one led to another, and it just evolved, and it was like, and I can't tell you how many times both of us said, "Oh, just one more thing," and I said, but it's so different than like a couple weeks ago, where I was talking to someone, and all they wanted to do was sort of like quiz me about, one of these things, or ask me about, what do you think Roland's doing right now,
Oh, I love those conversations. Oh my god, I haven't had one of those in so long. Yes.
It's like it's all about hardware and buying. And waiting for the next thing to be released.
Yeah, having a conversation about manufacturers is like, I already know I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so uninteresting, and
the big ones, at least, let's just say. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I'm much more interested in the stories of the new guys, the up and comers, but for the big, like the big three, the big five, behemoths in music gear or synthesizers and everything. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know what they're going to be doing next year. You don't know what motivates them and everything.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I'm fortunate. I have a little bit more insight, with.
Well, obviously, there's a perception that you do because you're being asked. Clearly.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. It's like, he's the insider. He knows. It's like I'm not that inside. I'm not in Japan for one thing.
There you go.
And there is a true barrier with a lot of these manufacturers, that is it's not nationalism or anything else like that. It's just
geography.
Yeah, it really is. So it's like I'm interested in what some of these companies are going to do next and release next and where they're going, but it's you can't predict,
Yeah.
And
those conversations there's something to them where like this is not an inspired interaction.
Yeah, and it has and this is a big problem I have with
meta, by the way.
No, it is. But there's a big problem I have with so many of these forums is like, what does this have to do with making music? Or, a lot of time it really doesn't. I think a lot of people are just involved in this hobby because their hobby is almost the discussion of synthesizers.
Yes.
Or guitars, I mean, and it's not specific to this either, because I've seen the same thing in science fiction communities.
Oh, yes.
There are people who are fans of Doctor Who, and there are people who are fans of arguing about Doctor Who or
Yes, you
Star
are
Wars
nailing
or
it.
Star
Thank
Trek.
you.
And
You're definitely bringing up something we haven't really covered here yet.
yeah, so
That fandom culture and the way the conversations are happening. I know.
So are you trying to say that that's involved in the synth community?
I could definitely
started.
I could definitely
Gotcha.
point to some destinations where people are just interested in talking about and debating, hardware and software and certain manufacturers and lots of tribalism. But
Yes.
again, I don't really think that is all that different than I'm sure it's the same in fantasy football or whatever that that kind of stuff
exactly.
is. People
Sports
can be
ball.
tribal. People can be tribal, and
You're right. It can happen anywhere, and we've seen it here in the synth community. And it's funny because I feel like everyone we've had on so far has brought up this idea of like community and like I don't want to say anti-tribalism because that sounds like a stance of some kind, but that's sort of like the arena that we were discussing. Well, I do want to say before we get to off the rails with all of this cosmic conversation, can I boo 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 triggering the giveaway?
Hey, Dwosher brings up a good point, actually.
Yeah, we can circle through the chat too first.
Hardware is easy to talk about, but presenting your art is risky.
Damn,
and I think
so true.
That's
exactly it, dude. That's exactly what we're saying.
So true.
Wow.
It is very easy to get involved in these discussions, and you have to note, or sooner or later you notice that some of the loudest voices are the ones that don't have a band camp. They don't. They're not. They don't have a link in their.
Real talk.
I don't want to be mean. I mean,
I love it. You're being so real. That's important. I think.
If that's your hobby, folks, great and everything. I'm just not so interested in it.
Like if you're being the loudest voice in the room, and there's a lot of other people in the room with a lot of interesting things to discuss, you can maybe chill and just let other people start a conversation. Not be the loudest all the time. I mean, that's a personal lesson for us all to carry in our hearts. Check the room, read the room, all of those things we can learn. But I do think, it's come up quite a few times that the real life synth community versus the online synth community are two different things, and there's lots of different pockets, and we're all just like trying to find those and exploit them more so that there's more fun and joy and expression.
The other thing I would point out is, and I've seen it supported in the numbers, but no matter how many people you see, in these communities, in Facebook and Facebook groups and everything, that is a relatively small percentage of the people who may be interested in the same thing you are. I'm trying to think of like if I'm explaining that wrong, but
no, I think I get what you're saying. Is like that dominant voice in that one space online is like so small compared to the real world.
I mean,
even since
we and just like take any particular product that we have sold and everything, and the numbers are much bigger than those dozen 20 people who are always talking about it or complaining about it or praising it and everything. I've recently heard something very similar about politics. Is like, you hear all this stuff about, and they say, just remember, only 5%, of the people in the United States actually get on Twitter, post on Twitter and everything, so you may just because you look at Twitter and you think you see a movement, one way or the other and everything, is a very, very small percentage. And
Yeah,
I think that these kind of things are true, whether you're talking about, synths or politics or
sure.
Sphinx cats or coffee or whatever. Yeah.
Definitely the cats. I just, yeah, definitely agree with you, Obama's Weed Man. There is a lot of positivity in the synth community specifically that we have found, but I feel like there's plenty of problematic shit going on, and
Yeah,
has
there's a
been.
lot of room. There is a lot of room to grow. There's definitely
Yeah,
a lot of room to grow.
but that's not like necessarily what I experience in real life, like when I'm at like NAM or I'm at like shows or you know what I mean, like with real people in a room. You're not getting that like whatever bullshit.
No,
It's
no,
just
no.
not the same.
That's and that is certainly true. Is that it's also very exemplary of how many keyboard warriors
Yeah,
there are in the
exactly. It's
world.
probably the same person in every group, just
And
because of
and the
their
funny thing is,
names.
you wouldn't know. It's like you can meet someone, hang with them, and everything, and it's like, wait, you're that guy? You know,
Yes.
in that form?
Ooh. Like
No,
reverse digital age, where you meet someone in real life, don't know their handle, get to
right?
know them, become friends, and then find out later.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a sci-fi film.
Wait.
That's like a 1999 2000 like digital future
Yeah.
film.
Right.
Your
Yeah.
Dozier?
Oh my god, that's so funny. I do want to run this giveaway. Let me see where we're at time on our current round. Where did it go? Okay, yeah. Since everyone's hanging out and being so cool and joining this conversation with us, we wanted to announce that this is also a giveaway stream thanks to Robert, who we were sort of talking about signs a little bit, but I guess maybe you can expound on what it is.
Yeah, sure. So, first of all, to be clear, this is a software synthesizer for
Yeah,
Mac or
100% clear.
Windows. I've actually had people who look at the ads that I do and the price of $29 or $39 and get upset that it's not hardware. Um,
Okay,
but
yeah, you're definitely speaking from some real experience.
yeah. um, uh, uh, Signs is I like to think of it as a laboratory of sound, but basically, it is four oscillators that do nothing but sine waves, but we also give you these different methods, these different wave shaping tools so that you can, bend and twist and crunch each of those oscillators into really novel and unique waveforms. And then you can modulate them like silly. And then we've got integrated effects, delay, reverb, distortion in there. And one of the really fun things about it is that we've actually got like little oscilloscopes built in for.
That's my favorite thing, man.
Yeah,
And so crucial.
you're sitting there, you're twisting like a drive or a wavefold knob. I don't know why I'm doing this because I'm not. Because the truth is I'm probably doing this,
Yes,
but
yes.
unless I've got it mapped to my controller.
But in our minds, we're doing that.
Yes, in my minds, I'm so, and I'd say what's most interesting about it is that you're um, you're bending and shaping waves in a very sort of additive synthesis
Mm.
sense, and then you're running it through a filter in a very subtractive synthesis way. I mean, it follows the sort of same sort of signal path as your standard subtractive synth, but also you can because these are all sine waves and they can interact and with each other, you can treat them like like a modulator carrier arrangement, so that you're doing um, DX type FM style. It's not frequency modulation, it's phase modulation, but you can also do that kind of thing where you're um, uh, basically capable of treating it like a four operator FM synth.
A la DX7.
Yes, I
Right,
see where it's
right.
all coming together.
But without having to do it in the tiny little LED display of a DX7. So it's like
No one wants to program a DX7.
No,
I
I
I
get
I I I was there in the day and I did not.
I
um,
still love the original FM7. That monitor behind me is, I have a G4 Mac.
yeah,
And I have all those old Native Instruments plugins.
yeah.
Like the
There's
original.
there's definitely some good ones, and to me, that one of the places that software is, has been so welcome in this is that really is the only way that I've ever been able to, really wrap my head around, DX style synthesis, I, and the more visual, the better,
Mm.
so, so that's basically what Signs is. We released it, I think 2 weeks ago tomorrow, or has it been 3 weeks?
I
I've
think
lost track of time. I think it's only been 2 weeks.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's only been 2 weeks.
Yeah, and it's been it definitely gets talked about. Um, some people are really overwhelmed by the interface. Some people love it.
Mm.
If you push it really hard, it can bring a PC or a Mac, to its knees, unless you've got a, fairly recent past couple years. Um, uh, but I mean, there's nothing inherently intensive about it. It gives you enough options to, really go nuts and everything.
I
It's very.
rocked a 2012 MacBook Pro 13-inch,
How'd it go?
and it was fine.
Oh,
Yeah, like I was able to,
good.
I was doing pretty simple stuff. Like I was just multi-track and then
Yep.
freeze tracks if I needed
Yeah.
to in Ableton. But yeah, like I didn't like it didn't cripple my machine, and I have an old ass computer, so
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have trouble with like bumping up the oversampling on it on my MacBook Air from 2015 or
Mm.
something, but my iMac here in front of me has no trouble with it at all. So
yeah.
um, it's very different. You know, Cherries. This is I think our 15th synthesizer over the past 2 years.
Whoa.
We have, we've done others like DCO 106, which is based on Juno 106. I mean, a lot of our, initial stuff were emulations of other synths. Like, we've got the memory mode, the poly mode, the 8 voice, which is a OB type. But this year we started doing our some of our own synths, and so earlier in the year we released Dream Synth, which was very much like the a late '80s synth that was never released, based on small samples and then. But I think what came after that was our Mini Moog clone, Miniverse.
That got
Um,
really good reviews, right?
yeah, it did. We have some really genius engineers, and they really went to the drawing board on that, to really just as accurately emulate the real behavior. They would just do everything, and they would take notes, and it's like, hey, did you realize that when you're using glide, that it will go up twice as fast as it does when it's coming down, and you know, they were noting all sorts of things that no one had really seen or measured before, and aren't in a lot of other software emulations. So, and one of the things we did that for that release was I'd set up a web page where it's like, here's two sounds. Which one is hardware and which one is software? And that got
That's fun.
thousands and thousands of visits, and the bell curve on it was just like right at 50% and everything. It was just like, I mean, it's like, either you've got a really good ear or you're just as good at guessing, as everyone else. So yeah, I mean, that overall was a great fun project, because we did it during the May, Bob Moog's birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Did a
All
big
those events.
fundraiser for the Bob Moog Foundation and Michelle Moog Kusa, and that was a great month. So we're with signs and our effects, and
Someone said the ARP clone is amazing.
the what?
The ARP clone.
Oh yeah, the Quadra.
Welcome in, Zone Boy 1. You knew about that?
Oh,
That's cool.
Or the California 2600 or whatever.
Yeah, CA
Yeah,
Cherry
CA.
Audio 2600. Yeah, that art.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What was that? Did you just make that up?
CA.
You just thought that standard for California.
I made it California. Yeah.
So and it's been a really good year, and we're just gonna keep doing that. We'll do some emulations. We've got lots of new ideas of our own, and of course we haven't even mentioned, we also, I mean, how we got started was with Voltage Modular.
Hey, that was my first time. So I heard about the company probably when it first started, because it was about the time that I was in Cupertino.
Yeah, I was gonna guess that.
And I was going to these modular like meetups that were hosted at SAEs in the Bay Area. I was doing this, like, I was working with Apple at the time in the retail stores, but I was actually working at the corporate level, doing like a career experience, they called it. And so I would go to like SAE that was like way out there near Berkeley, actually.
Yeah.
And I would go to these like meetups of electronic musicians that were doing both hardware and software. They were really serious, and they'd been meeting for like a really long time, this group. And it was really cool. And one of the people that was there was using Voltage Modular.
That's right. That's where it's coming from.
Yeah, and
Wait,
that was
pause.
the first time.
Pause. We have to get back in the Zoom. Wait. You were telling a story. I hate when that happens. Now there's 4 of us. No. Robert's back. Pick it right back up.
That was the first time that
Perfect.
that I had actually seen somebody, using modular software at all. Like, I didn't even know that modular software existed.
Yeah.
At that point, and I have a Softtube modular, which is very unpopular. And the interface is terrible, and but the sound, like, I actually think the sound quality on that one, they nailed it. They put their full, like, hardware emulation strength into the sound quality of that plugin. Like, of course, I have the Buchla stuff. It's really good. They are pretty damn accurate, emulations of the 259E, because it's a digital module.
Right.
It's got analog wavefolding, but they did a pretty good job of emulating that, because that's kind of Softtube's thing. But yeah, other than that, like, Voltage Modular was the first time I had even heard of modular software.
A lot of our stuff we develop internally. It starts off on our sort of own internal version.
Right.
We don't build these, like, fancy looking interfaces, and it's like, we work as modules and string them together and work out a lot of the issues and the modeling and stuff like that in the deeper DSP code, there, and then it gets elevated to like a standalone synth level. That which is why like mini we were talking about Miniverse earlier. There is Miniverse, the Minimoog, application, that clone and everything. But we also have a Miniverse modules collection for Voltage Modular, which is just here's the Model D oscillators, here's the Model D filter, here's the Model D envelopes and everything, and acts just like our regular app because they were all built off the same backbone. So
amazing.
Wow, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's kind of like, I almost imagine it being like Reactor.
Yes, I mean it is. It's, I mean, that's, it all starts off that way.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool.
Sweet.
And cool inside info without getting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I like it. You heard it here first, folks.
So you should give something away. You should give something
hell
away.
yeah.
I think I forget who it was, but somebody wanted to know about your Erica Synths VCS3 vibe synth. I forget what it's
You're
called.
Like asking for a friend?
Yeah, I'm asking for a friend.
Oh, shit.
The Synthx?
Yes.
Oh, we got another
Synthx.
synth reveal moment.
Yes. Yes, it was that. It was
I mean, it's like, I'm not kidding. This is a synth box. There are 17 synthesizers in this basically 10 by 10 space right now.
Box.
And I'm out of space. I am out of electricity. I am out of room. I can only have one cat at a time. This was a panic impulse purchase that I made at the end of last year. The Synthrx had been out for, I'm going to say, maybe 2 years at that point. And I'd been lusting over it for a while, but I think they were $3,000, and I would love to have a Synthi or a VCS3. I mean, I would love to have one of those OGs. It's there's simplicity and an elegance, and I'm not like I'm not really super into a lot of vintage things. I'm just as happy to use modern gear. I would never go out and spend $50,000 on a Jupiter 8 or
right.
Like that.
But we're gonna talk about your Jupiter X guide. After you finish your thought.
Yeah.
After we do this giveaway.
Yeah. But after I finish the Synthx thing, anyway. But so those guys, Erica Synths, released the Synthx a couple years ago, and they never said this is a VCS3 clone or anything else like that. But it has the same spirit.
Yeah.
A lot of the same features. Everything from it has speakers and meters and the built-in spring reverb. Three VCOs and all that. Instead of a pin matrix, it has this digital that you could see like sort of blinking there in red.
It has a matrix.
It has a matrix.
It has a matrix. Now here's the interesting thing, is that the matrix, it saves your routings, but it doesn't save your your knob positions. It doesn't save the parameters. So you can go in and you can set up these just wonderful routings and modulations, and then you can save it and you can return to it at a later time. But it didn't save the position of your frequency knobs, or it didn't save, your LFO setting and things like that. So,
So it is more like the original.
Yeah.
it is. I mean, it is.
It's like, cool, you left your pins in.
Yeah, you left your pins in. Hey, you're following that. Awesome.
Yeah.
That feels so condescending.
But it's funny. Even it's funny thing is that even with that and everything, I'm still one of these people. It's like so I've got the Synthrx there, and I've got the old Roland System 100 up there, and I'm like, don't touch it, don't move a knob and everything. I've got to finish this piece first, before I can like dial up a new patch,
Right.
at all. So. It's the panic is that they said last year around this time that they were discontinuing it.
Oh.
And I was like, well, I'm never going to get a VCS3 probably, and I'll never get a Synthy, and
that sounds like a logical decision to me, not even like a panic or impulse. That sounds extremely logical to me.
It's tough to spend that money. Tough to spend that money so close to Christmas.
Oh yeah, especially.
Yeah, but I did. Yay for PayPal financing.
There you go.
So it's paid off, and I'm very happy with it. It is a different it's a different mindset. I mean, it's totally different from the Jupiter. It's totally different from the modular or semi-modular and everything. And I like to kind of dip my toe in all these different things.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
you've got the bases covered. I can tell.
Yeah.
All right, I want to know what is the question?
I'm out of room.
What is the question we're gonna ask the chat to answer? So before we do that, Daniel, can you explain one more time how the giveaway works in the chat? You put a command in. I think it's command answer, and then you answer it, and then we'll have a winner based on who gets it right first. That's my understanding of how it works. Oh. To enter the giveaway, answer the question with command answer. Your answer. Perfect. I think that's pretty clear. That's pretty clear. So, a little drum roll. There's a little test run so you can see how it works. And then, Robert, if you will unveil the question.
Okay. The question is, what is widely considered to be the first polyphonic analog synthesizer?
Ooh, there were a lot of qualifiers there. Let's say it one more time.
No problem. What is widely considered to be the first polyphonic synthesizer? I'll just say that because there was no digital back in that day. So we'll just say what was the first polyphonic synthesizer?
All right. What was the first polyphonic synthesizer? You use the command answer and then put your answer so that you will count in the giveaway. And the giveaway is going to be the new Cherry Audio signs. Wait, mine's over here. I want to do the little Jeopardy.
I'm just gonna talk about like how rad the synth is while you like do the.
Well, we just did it. We just asked the question.
I know, but
I think people could be Googling.
The wave folder sounds really good.
And then doing the answer, command answer, and then putting your answer. Yeah, everyone. Yeah, just like Dozier did.
The
Zone Boy 1, if you want to be entered, just so that we have the information right, you put the command answer and then your answer, but I'll still count it because obviously it's not like there's 3 million people putting answers in and I can't keep track. If there were a lot of people and it was going fast, it's going to grab your timestamp so that we make sure that it's fair and whoever got it first gets it, but I feel like we can handle the volume. We can handle this volume.
You want this synth.
I love it. So we're going to let this, actually, I want to let this go for like a while until it becomes like, obvious or whatever. Or like we haven't gotten any more answers in a while.
Until someone finds it on Google.
Right.
the naysayers are dick bags. It's cool.
The naysayers of what?
Of this synth. Of anybody who says this synth isn't cool.
The one we were just talking about?
Yeah.
The one, okay. The VCS3 type synthesizer or Signs? Oh, yeah. Who was saying that? No, I think he was just saying that people were like, oh, I thought it was a module or whatever, you know, thought it was hardware.
Yeah, but I still say that anybody who says any bullshit about it is wrong. It's good.
SynthDan1, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a first-time chatter. And I really appreciate your technical answer. I think that's amazing. Oh, Tangent Universe, I didn't even see you come in. I have no idea how to command answer, but clearly Manager83.
Oh, it's the acid lady now.
Oh, I love that you slid in, Carolyn, just to do that at the perfect time. You are being a monster, and I'm so here for it. Oh, this is more fun than I thought it was going to be. Okay.
Yeah, I see it.
Everyone's having fun with this, and I appreciate it. This is the positive synth experience we want to have. Okay? Let's be the change that we want to see in the world.
Be the change.
Yes. So I feel like we've started to get a little tour of your synth box, but I think we could go deeper.
Oh, okay. You wanted to know what about the Jupiter?
Oh. Wasn't it the Jupiter expert guide?
Well, we found a page that was like linked to you somehow.
Oh, that sounds like we're stalking you.
We were.
I think I was looking for just like your links to send you to.
Yeah,
and
we
then,
were.
What is it? It must be on your Instagram.
It looked like you basically
It is. I think it is on Instagram. Jupiter Expert.
Yes.
Yeah, you do like a guide about the Jupiter X.
Correct. The Jupiter X, the Jupiter X and the XM. Yeah, 3 years ago I got the smaller Jupiter XM when it was first released, and it's crazy. I mean, it's like a 4-part synthesizer with drums and intelligent arpeggiator, and it's just a crazy weird control surface and menu diving and everything. But I was like, I'm gonna figure this out. And I did, and I kind of stayed ahead of the curve. And a couple months later, it's like, well, I should start like a website, and I should start doing videos on, this is how to do this on a Jupiter XM. And I spent, the timing was great because this was right when COVID hit.
Oh.
So it was a good time to stay inside and make content and learn things and teach things and make music. And I spent about 2 years, really heavily working on that. When they did a big firmware update on it that made it much more usable,
which they tend to do.
Yes, yeah. In this world of where you can always fix it later with a download. I was involved in that project. Roland was very gracious and invited me in and asked me lots of questions, and let me and some others, give them lots of feedback on the direction they were going with the changes they were making and the features that were important. It was, in my experience, it was very unusual for, one of these big synthesizer companies that we were just talking about earlier to be so proactive, but they were. And then at the same time, and at the same time, I worked on a PDF guide that was, they do user manuals. They have plenty of documentation, but they're they're very dry. They don't tell you how to do things practically. They say, here's the arpeggiator, it arpeggiates.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of circular, instructions in today's user manuals, and so
It's really gone downhill as a whole. I think.
Yeah.
I can't believe how bad they are, and as a matter of fact, I kind of almost judge a company by how good their manual is, and of course with the big companies they just don't do it anymore.
Well, and the tough thing on the flip side of that is that what I found during that whole period and everything is I could write and do sorts of illustrations and everything, but no one wants to read. They want videos.
Oh, that's such a good point. I'm sorry to get distracted, but there is a tip that came across the screen with lots of emotes, and there was a follow.
Oh.
I just wanted to shout people out and say thank you, and it said Butts. So somebody made up the name Butts, and I just want to shout you out. Thank you for being juvenile and hilarious in the stream with us while we're talking about synths.
I feel like I need to give people
yeah, are you checking
like
the
I
chat?
need to drop I feel like I need to drop a hint on this question about the first polyphonic synthesizer.
I love that everyone's just trying to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fun.
Go back to the year 1939.
Okay, here we go. That's a big hint, everybody.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Don't be.
Yay!
We got a cat playing a synth right now. That was amazing.
Was that the Jupiter XM?
Yes.
Wow, we were just talking about it.
Yeah.
The cat is tuned in, y'all.
Yeah,
Cats are tuned in.
That's the Jupiter X. Actually, I ended up getting a big Jupiter X later.
Oh, okay. You got the Jupiter X.
All right, here. Let's see what she does here. Got the drums going.
Wow.
Sounds like the Galaxy Electric to me.
Yeah.
Very creepy and dissonant. Okay.
Oh my gosh. The Galaxy Electric is not us. It's just two Sphinx cats.
I can't tell you how much I hate the idea of my cats being on my gear, but
I know, right?
it's like I know where your paws have been.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
This does not
it's a little
get
hard to
about.
lean in there passionately on your own, when you know that
the little litter paws. I feel like this does not get talked about enough.
No.
That we're all out here with the cats and the synths, but no one is talking about where those paws have been.
Oh.
It's not being talked about.
I want to see that on a gear description, shit paws in a smoke-free studio. No shit paws.
I'm gonna try to do something here real fast because every once in a while this happens, and it just happened the other day.
Yes, Tangent Universe is bought. We also now want a Sphinx cat. Robert has two. Impressive synth pets.
So every once in a while, I will rush out of this office quickly, or just absent-mindedly, and forget to shut the door behind me. And I will come in later, and I will find the aftermath of that poor decision. And this is, but one of the first things that always happens. I'm going to try to hold this up, and I hope it comes. But what you're seeing here, okay? So here's a space echo. Here, and there's a.
I would be able to identify that from miles away.
And there's a chorus up there. So. What is that on top of the chorus?
Is that what I think it is?
Those are dirty little paw prints.
Oh,
and little bits of cat litter. Ugh.
Is that a Dimension D?
It's a Dimension D clone.
Oh, okay.
From Clark Technic.
Oh, okay, yeah, I think I've seen those.
Yeah, they were they were practically giving them away with Sweetwater candy last year.
Oh. Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, I grabbed one, and it's nice. It works very well with that setup. It
Oh
gives
yeah.
nice motion and space and everything. It's a nice thing to have, but it's also nice not to have cat paws up on top of it. I,
Wow.
so every once in a while, I will come down. I will realize that I left the door open or something like that, and the first thing I look is like, because I mean, she's climbing into the craziest places, and
Exactly. No one is talking about this. Cats can get into things you would never imagine. When they're in there, they are just rubbing themselves over every crevice
Oh
they
yeah,
can
man.
find. And it's like, oh, it's cute. They're pretending to play synth. It's like, no, they just rub their butthole on the power supply.
oh, you know what?
We've had a
We
cat
got we
trauma situation in our lives.
I
So
grew up
that
with cats. I'm very
we got
versed.
I think we got an answer. I think we got
Oh,
the right
did we?
answer. Uh, uh,
who?
uh,
Gives you pause. Wow, there's a lot of chat.
DWO Junior, I think it says.
Dwoger! We call
Answered.
him Dwoger.
Okay, the Nova Chord.
First one to get it. Got it. That was a fun one. That was fun. That went on longer than I thought it was going to. Thank you,
Way to go.
everyone.
Dwoger, this is your stream, dog.
Yes, Dwoger, you are killing
This
the
is
game.
your stream.
I knew it. I was like, someone please just Google it at this point.
Well, Google Foo is fine. The funny thing is I just ran that past you guys this morning as like, we could ask a question like, and I never actually stopped to think whether or not that was like too difficult a question.
No, that was a fantastic question. I also
Yeah,
think
so
Googling it, you still have to kind of know what to Google and what to
yes,
read about.
yes,
It's
yes.
not
That's
super
that's true
straightforward.
because you can't just say, you just can't Google first polyphonic synthesizer. You'll get 1,000 music radar articles telling you what to buy as your first, polyphonic synthesizer.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And the
So
cat
yes,
agrees. I love it.
was
I love
the
the cat being here.
it was the Nova Chord. It was
1939.
1939. It was by Hammond. It was a 72 voice. It was.
Oh, I think we talked about this with our Sun Ra podcast episode. I think Sun
Yep.
Ra had one of these.
Yeah, I think there's only 20, 25, 27 of them still in existence.
Oh, yeah. This
They're
sounds right.
very hard to maintain. They were very complicated. They're all tubes, but I mean, it had a architecture that was, you know, voice filter, envelope, and it was shown at the 39 World's Fair, and
Right.
I think
That would explain it. Why it had sort of like a popular culture energy around it. That
yeah.
I think what we read was that Sun Ra's the piano store
Where did
near
they
his
host?
house had one. It was this big deal.
Do you know where they hosted the 39 World Fair? I mean, I know we could look it up, but
New York.
oh, okay.
Yeah, the World's Fair. The World's Fair. The only one that ever mattered. The one that set the tone for the retro future that ever happened.
Exactly.
Flying cars and all that.
The reason we have the 64 World's Fair.
That's right. But yes,
I love that crossover.
that was the answer. And I think Obama's Weed Man said something like 1,000 produced. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That was they basically from 39 till about 42, and then war, and then it really became impossible to get the chips.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Yes.
Nice try, Obama's Weed Band. No plug-in. No plug-in for you.
Ouch.
Yeah. So basically, either you guys or Daniel, or I don't know.
Well, yeah, Dwoger, what we'll need is for you can send us a whisper with your email, and then we'll get you connected with Robert.
Yes. send the email, then I will send one from my Cherry Audio account to get you all set up. And
This is legit. This is cool.
thanks for playing.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
That was a cool giveaway. Way to go, Dwojer. Way to score. Cheers, everyone.
Yeah, the fine print is that you have to write us a intro score to our Twitch feed.
Oh, there you go.
That's the fine print. So, Dwojer, put that signs to work, son.
Put the signs to work.
Or daughter.
So I have a question for you guys.
Ooh, I love it. I love a reverse question.
So you showed Quatermass in the pit.
Yes.
2 weeks ago. Much to your credit, I was so thrilled to see you pluck that one out. It's such a fine film.
It's so good. It was also, to the credit of our Discord group who voted for it. I mean, I left it out,
really?
But they chose it almost unanimously.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I commented during the showing that's the first science fiction or horror movie I remember ever seeing.
Right.
I was a child. I was way too young to be watching it, but it was like an ABC Monday night movie in the early 70s.
Wow.
Of course, they're like, everyone can handle this. It's fine.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, when they're inside the ship and the wall cracks and there's the grasshopper Martians.
I know exactly what you were going to say. That moment where it gets like trippy for a second.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
You're like, what?
And the psychedelic like grasshopper appears above all the buildings.
And that's the other one. Those two things haunted me as a child.
That's terrifying.
The giant Martian ghost over the city and everything used to show up in my nightmares as a kid. And those are the first nightmares I remember. But
oh my god. It's so hard for me to imagine that, having only seen it as an adult, but I can think of things that you know what I mean, like that I have parallel to. But that movie makes me like, it's like it couldn't scare me if it tried at this point. But like, it's psychological, man. It's like, it's really trippy.
Yeah.
Like, you think it's one thing, and then it's like, wait, what are these things? What is their story? The whole, like, they watched that woman's, like, the idea that they thought they could do that. Like, that was a concept of watching her mind through the TV screen while she's being mind controlled by Martian grasshoppers. Like, that's a trippy, like, layered idea to me.
It is. So the reason I brought that up is that was written by Nigel Neal, who wrote all the Quatermass teleplay, back in those days for the BBC and tons of other wonderful.
A lot of feedback we got about it when we were talking about it on other platforms was that 5 or 6 episode series from like 56, I want to say.
Yeah.
Is like the jam. Like, you don't know Quatermass if you haven't seen that.
But he wrote other stuff like the Year of the Sex Olympics, which basically predicted what we call reality television, where everybody is just like, sitting at home watching, this people in their private moments, being.
Yes, there's a little there's a little taste of that in Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah, I was about to say that too.
Yes.
I didn't have enough balls to bring it up, but you did.
It's sort of the retro futuristic, like hippy dippy part of it that I love, because they're in this sort of like Victorian house, but then there's like the screen on the wall, and it's just her. It's real. It's like this. It's like her watching Twitch.
Right.
There's some voyeuristic stuff going on.
The whole concept of television as a drug and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
But what's this
one? The History of the Sex Olympics? I've not heard of that.
It's called the Year of the Sex Olympics.
The Year of the Sex Olympics. I have a lot of references that I'm writing down today.
I think I think I'm almost positive it still exists. I think that was also that was a 6-part teleplay.
Oh, okay.
Um, but the one that I really want you guys to look up,
Ooh.
you two to look up, is The Stone Tape by Nigel Neal.
Okay. Same
19
guy.
Same guy. 1972.
Ooh.
A BBC. All of a sudden, I'm blanking whether or not it was done in episodes or if it was just a single hour and a half. But you will love it. It is about a group of scientists that go into and set up their gear inside a house said to be haunted, to analyze this haunting, these paranormal phenomena from a scientific point of view. And
one of my favorite subgenres. Perfect.
And it is called The Stone Tape because
I know why it's called The Stone Tape already.
Why is it called The Stone Tape?
Because there's this theory that certain stone, especially limestone, can like transmit sound, carry sound, hold sound, however you want to understand that, and that it's sort of like a giant tape recorder.
That's it.
And I learned this from being too into the paranormal, like how can we scientifically understand it side of things, and I'm so excited that it's come full circle.
We watched an episode of Kesha's TV show.
It showed up for me in another place too.
Oh, really?
I know. I was going to bring up the Kesha show because we've talked about it on here.
Yes, we already brought it up.
The pop singer Kesha, who we have met and has knighted Gus in the name of Kesha, he has been knighted by her. It's very strange. She has a TV show that's on like Discovery Plus or something like that. Yeah. And it's her with other celebrities going into like the most haunted places in America, but doing it from this like setting up the machines and measuring and all of that kind of stuff. And we like binge watched the whole thing and talked about it on the stream. And I can't remember what it's called now because that's what happens when you binge things.
That is what happens.
You know a lot about them for the second, and then you move on to the next thing.
And you're just like, it's Kesha's show.
It's just like Kesha's ghost hunting or something like that.
Yeah.
I'll look it up because my wife and I love.
Oh, it's so good. It's
stuff.
Very entertaining and very like. There's one episode that I think somebody tried to debunk here on the chat for me, and I was like, please don't. Where they're in San Francisco, and there's the whole concept.
I think it was Obama's Weed Man.
It might have been. They were in this house, this like haunted house in San Francisco that was visited by like Houdini and the guy who did the first radio guy. I can't remember his name now, but that they were there doing like seances back in the day, and so like they opened a portal and that sort of thing. And I was like, please don't ruin this for me. I want this to be real. Someone was like, no, it's like an Airbnb, and they just made that story up. But there's apparently like I want to say like a jail or a psych hospital in like Appalachia somewhere that is a limestone building that they say is like one of the largest limestone. I think they said it's the largest limestone building after the Kremlin.
Which means
I didn't know the Kremlin was limestone.
Yeah.
So it's like a big old tape recorder. But like that theory, so I'm imagining this movie, The Stone Tape, is going to play with that. Okay, sorry, I went
I think I'm almost positive you can find it on YouTube.
Sweet.
She's also great at crossword puzzles, by the way.
It's a 90-minute movie. I just checked. It's a 90-minute movie.
On YouTube.
The soundtrack is by Desmond Briscoe of the Radiophonic. There you go.
Sold. I knew that's what you were going to say next.
Yeah. So,
do you have the book Tape Leaders by Ian Halliwell?
No.
You should get it. I think he did a second run recently, and it's always out of stock. I
really like that. For a reference for you. Tape Leaders by Ian Halliwell. Halliwell.
One of my favorite books, like just a book that I like opening and just looking at and reading, and it's just like so fun to interact with.
And it comes with a CD, and you get the music of all the artists they talk about, and I would say it's kind of a secret Bible of the Cosmic Tape Music Club.
Oh,
Yeah, it is. The
that's
whole
great.
thing is based off of that.
Yeah,
For
a lot
sure.
of posts are based off that book.
And I would say, like, Ian is actually more of a filmmaker even than he is like a music
Super
historian
cool guy.
or a writer.
Yeah.
But for some reason, he made this book, and it's like the best thing ever. Yeah, it's the Cosmic Tape Music Club Bible.
We had the opportunity to meet him when he was in New York, and he signed our copy.
Yes,
and
it was so hard not to like
it was so cool.
fangirl out.
We freaked out, and I don't think that he likes us very much now.
I had my own fanboy moment this year.
Ooh.
I mean, it was like sort of destiny fulfilled. One of the best parts about this job has been the people I work with are geniuses, and they're so smart. Some of them have been around and have just like tons of experience. They know people who have who they're friends with people from bands from the the 80s to the current day, and I have to there some of them are our VIPs like Augustus, and I mean, one of the things I've been doing is looking for that next generation of VIPs. Anyway,
I'm about to drop a tear here.
A couple months ago, we were getting ready to release the our synthesizer called Elka X, which was based on the Erica Synths from the early 80s. So I'm researching, I'm gathering my material because I write all the copy for the website and social media and newsletters, all that stuff. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. That is what I do at Cherry. I'm the marketing guy. I am the face of all that. I don't do anything useful like coding or making synthesizers, but I get the word out. But so I'm paging. I know I can find this really fast. I'm sorry.
No, don't be. We get to remind ourselves that we're in the synth layer.
Just taking it all in.
So at one point I decided to take a break, and it's like, I got this special issue of Doctor Who magazine, The Music of Doctor Who, and
yes.
so I think I'll just kick back and relax some Sunday morning with my donut and coffee and page through this.
Oh, that sounds like heaven.
And I open it up to a section of the BBC Radiophonic Workshop doing music for Doctor Who in the 80s. And there is a picture of one of its members, Peter Howell, sitting there with a Synthx in his studio.
I knew this was coming.
Okay, so now I have to go back. I have to go back about 40.
Oh no. In the middle of a story again. I've got to upgrade. One of these days, we get enough tips, we'll upgrade our Zoom. 4 of us. Rob is back.
What a cliffhanger! What if
I know. That's the thing we say. The fun thing about Synth Friends is we never know how many times they're gonna come back. They could just not come back. We'll be left on the edge of our seat.
This is the most incredible story ever.
I know. Yeah. I wasn't expecting it either.
So I got as far as saying we're gonna go back a couple decades, right?
Exactly. Perfect.
Okay. All right. So I was a kid during the 70s. And I didn't know a synthesizer from an organ. The stuff that, it was, there was Yes and, ELP, and there was all those greats and everything. But when you're just listening on AM radio, there was no MTV yet.
Right.
You know, you don't know. It's like, well, that's a weird sounding organ on that ABBA album.
Right.
Uh, you know, kind of stuff.
Nobody's
So
doing an explainer video of the gear they used on that ABBA
exactly,
song.
exactly. I couldn't Google it or go onto Wikipedia. All right, but um, in '78 is when I first started. I saw Doctor Who, and just fell head over heels. It's the biggest. I mean, there's a Dalek and a TARDIS over
Yes,
there.
yes.
You know, it's all over. It's all over the place. Here's Tom Baker right there.
Oh, amazing.
I was just head over heels on Doctor Who, and I stayed that way for I still am.
In perpetuity.
Yes. And what was being shown on PBS wasn't enough for me, because but I knew that the show went back a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that the show was still in production, and I was just seeing about 3 or 4 years of Tom Baker episodes over and over again.
Yes.
So,
What do you do?
yeah, well, I joined the Doctor Who Appreciation Society. I over in the UK, I learned how to take my, American, piggy bank money to the bank and get a check made out in UK pounds and so on. And uh, uh, and I got a pen pal,
Oh my
over
God.
there. And the pen pal was such a nice guy, John Ainsworth. God bless you. Who maybe I'll go back to that, but thank you. He was just a young kid like me. We're in our early teens and everything. But John used to record Doctor Who on cassette tape.
Oh, yeah.
So he would record like a story. So, 4 parts of The Leisure Hive, the first story of season 18. And then he would pop it into the mail to me, and I would get it. And so for 3 or 4 years, I would get to hear Doctor Who long before the video ever came over to America on PBS, long before those were added to the package and everything. So I would get these cassette tapes, and it was only for like a season, only lasted for a couple months, like over winter from whatever, say September to January or something like that. But during September and January, every few weeks, I would get a new Doctor Who story on cassette tape. And I would just go into my bedroom, pop it into the cassette, and I would just lay there on the bed, staring at the ceiling, closing my eyes, and listened to Doctor Who like that for a few years. And the first year that really started was with that season 18 of Doctor Who, in 1980, which was Tom Baker's last season, but it was the first season for a new producer who sort of cleaned house and changed everything. And they went from having Dudley Simpson and his little orchestra doing the incidental music for Doctor Who for years. The new producer says, "No, we're going back to the Radiophonic Workshop." What's the Radiophonic Workshop like these days and everything? Well, they still existed. They were doing stuff for other TV shows, and but they really hadn't been doing anything other than sound effects for Doctor Who for years. And he says, "No, no, no, we're gonna go to the Radiophonic Workshop." At this point, the Radiophonic Workshop, these guys were getting in synthesizers like, the Yamaha CS80,
Right, that was used a lot, I would say,
Yes,
by
I was
them.
going to say that was
Yeah,
the
that
main
was like their
one.
main
the
drag.
ARP 2600, and and one of the things the producer did was he's like, we're really going to change it. We're going to touch the Doctor Who theme for the first time, in 20 years. And you, Mr. Peter Howell, you are going to make a new version of the Doctor Who theme using synthesizers. And the rest.
That was the Roger Limb era, right? Like,
Yes, it was
Peter
Roger.
Howe, Roger Limb. He did some
Roger
shit
Limb,
for
Patty Kingsland, Malcolm Clark.
Mhm.
Malcolm Clark, who'd actually been around for quite a while.
Yeah.
Like he used to do.
He loved the
Uh,
Delaware.
yes, right, exactly. He was the one that was doing a lot of that so great radiophonic music for the whole John Pertwee era, using the Delaware. Um, uh, you know, Peter Howell and Patty Kingsland, and they were on the relatively newer side,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
and they had all these new synth toys and everything. But so, as someone who can't watch Doctor Who but is just listening to it, the thing that really jumped out at me all of a sudden was, what is this music? Why does this sound so different? And that was the beginning. Then that was the beginning of my journey. That's when I bothered to. It's like, what is a synthesizer?
And
You
that's what
know,
got us to where we are now.
right?
Essentially.
You know, so I was just I was really so those guys, especially Patty Kingsland and Peter Howe, were my my heroes and everything. And after that, it was like, it came so fast. I mean, then I discovered Jean-Michel Jarre, then I discovered
Yes.
Vangelis, all in a very short period of
It was
time.
the golden era, yeah.
It was. I mean, and it was like, so we're talking like 1980. Well, what happened in 1981? I saw the movie Gallipoli, and they used Jean-Michel Jarre's Oxygen
Mhm.
music throughout the soundtrack of Gallipoli. What happened in 1982?
Yes, it was.
No,
Another VCS3 user. He was a power user.
Yes.
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
We've
Um,
seen
you know,
Jean-Michel Jarre.
Chariots of Fire. Chariots
Oh,
of Fire.
sure.
Imagine
I got that
that was a #1 album.
Mhm.
At the time.
Yeah, that's
And,
wild.
Cosmos. Cosmos,
Yes.
and Vangelis's music from that was all around that. And so
Oh, that's such an epic
was
time.
it was just like pouring into me and everything, and I was just like so inspired and everything. Okay, so I'm gonna bounce back 40 years
Right.
now.
I
So
remember
here I
what
am
the
with
point of this
magazine.
story was.
You're right.
Yes.
Were
Here
you
you
hip
go.
to
I'm
the
sorry.
scene? Were you hip to the scene in Germany at the same time, though? Like the.
Oh well, I mean, so I mean, the next couple years,
It's just a blur of synths.
yeah, it was. I mean, it was. I mean, then I discovered this and I discovered that. MTV came on,
Right.
and that's a big thing because and I'm not talking about like I'm not talking about the Buggles and Video Killed the Radio Star. I'm saying it's like you see people playing synthesizers.
Yes.
You hear it's like someone, you hear and see someone doing a solo. You see Sparks up there with a Ronald synthesizer. So yeah, I mean, and then as a teenager, at that time, it's like I lived through the transition of Human League, from
Right.
from one thing to another, and then Duran shows up, and then I become a grumpy goth by the time I go to art school, and it's
Yes.
So
It's the
that's
perfect trajectory.
that was definitely my trajectory.
And it all started with Doctor Who cassettes.
Oh, did you listen to Wire at that point?
No, I now I was lucky. I grew up in Columbus, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Ohio State University is there, and therefore lots of really great record stores were there. So later on I was able to easily go back and catch up on so many things that I had missed in the first go around, because not everything was on MTV, and we didn't have a radio station worth a damn.
Yeah, those things remain to be true for quite some time.
Is it Mike
so,
Kovanchek from that area as well?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he went to Ohio State, I believe.
He's another Cosmic Tape Music Club member that worked with Halim El-Dab, and so he was on our podcast.
Well, Halim El-Dab was a professor there.
Yes.
Oh,
correct?
okay.
Yes, Halim El-Dab, after becoming, the first person
Are
to
you aware of who he is?
No.
Oh,
Oh,
so
okay.
he's considered like the first tape musician.
Oh,
Like he was in Egypt doing it like right before Pierre Schaeffer.
wow.
So
Little known
that's like a little
fact,
point
actually,
of contention in the deep tape music community. We talk about that. But he ended up coming to and living in Ohio and spent the rest of his life in Ohio as a professor.
Oh,
Of all places on earth.
I'm so sorry.
I know, isn't
And
it bizarre?
We
People say
interviewed one
that
of
to
his
him.
students.
He passed a couple years ago,
No.
but yeah, Mike was a student of his who then collaborated with him on. I mean, they were like
It was like his best student. It was like his best friend from
like,
the
and
school,
for decades
and,
they
yeah,
made
yeah,
music
it was
together.
like his collaborator and his caretaker almost.
But yeah, he's in the club. So when we mentioned we were doing Hulam Al Dab, he was like, "Well, let me just tell you."
Wow.
About all this. So we were like, that's amazing.
Yeah,
you
we
just
did a
never know.
podcast episode.
You never know who's lurking in the shadows with cool, like,
Yeah, he came out of the
experiences.
woodwork. We were like, wow, like we had no idea that there was this sort of resource in our group. But yeah,
Columbus was a really interesting place. I mean, because it's like it was a. It may still be, but it was considered like the test bed, the marketing test bed of America.
Well, that explains a lot.
It does. I mean, that's like where the first weird, like, some weird offering from McDonald's, like some weird, blue shake or milkshake will show up in Columbus, Ohio first to decide if they're going to ever let the rest of the nation see it and everything.
Wow.
But then also, we had an interactive cable television system in the 70s called Cube, that Warner Cable, who later became Time Warner, had. And so like, I mean, that's like I was there for day one of MTV because they made such a big deal about it.
Yeah.
And we had like all these cable access shows where people could come on and do weird things, and
Man,
there
the
was
era of cable access shows is so so precious. It's so special.
It is. Yeah.
There's nothing like it that I can think of before or since.
Yeah, it was awesome. All these people having access to this kind of equipment and, that kind of audience. And it didn't matter if the audience was 12 or 1200 and everything. It was the internet of its day. It was the YouTube of its day.
It was, but in such, just the low quality of it is like the reality TV kind of aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really special.
Well, we're living in Bob Ross country.
We are.
Oh.
Yeah, not the same exact town, but close
yeah.
enough that there's
Not
like
Muncie,
billboards.
But close
There's
enough.
billboards.
Yeah.
They have a Bob Ross Day festival here where we're at.
Yeah, we're close enough that the festival happens here.
Yeah, and he's.
We've never been to it though. It's never. Maybe they canceled it because of COVID.
I feel like he's one of the best success stories that ever came out of that public access scene.
That's such a good point.
It's heartbreaking what happened to the money in that situation.
Oh yeah, we went deep into Bob Ross when we found out this is where he was living, and we're like, oh, let's watch all the documentaries and find out. He just stayed up that characteristic, pure-hearted artist who doesn't want to do anything with the business, and then everything goes exactly as you would expect.
Yeah.
For his son.
Yeah. Ongoing with that. But
so you got, I'm not even familiar. Are you guys like, is that like Baltimore-ish area or?
No, Indiana.
You're in Indiana?
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea.
Oh, really?
I don't know why I thought you were like, I think maybe at one point I thought you were in Michigan or something. I'm in Cleveland. I mean, it's like, I'm not even that far from
that.
That
is so close. It's so funny because we
played a show in Detroit.
We don't think about where people think we live. Like, that's not a question. Like, hey, where do you think I live? But
that was
people almost always bring it up. Oh, I thought you lived here. And it's always somewhere different. And it's never anywhere I've lived.
That was it. You did the show in Detroit, and I wanted to go, but I couldn't make it. But I assumed it's like, oh, they must live in Michigan or something.
Oh, that makes so much sense. We're in Michiana, if you will.
Right. I'm in Cleveland.
Yes, I know Cleveland well. I have family there, and I've spent some time.
All right, so basically, you guys have the same weather I do right now.
Oh yeah, it's been
what
real
the hell?
depressing.
What the hell, man?
I got snow in my face yesterday.
But,
Or
like,
the
what
day
was?
before.
Yeah. We had snow yesterday morning. It's like, what the hell? I mean, it was like September 20th. It was like 88 degrees. September
Yes.
21st. It was like
Brutal,
40.
Synth.
I
No,
was like,
that's
what?
exactly why we have this this sort of joke between us about how where we live, like if you wear a jacket in the grocery store, like you'll get called out. Like it's insane. Like there's just this energy of like no one wears jackets. Like they're still wearing shorts and flip flops.
Oh, they're trying to
this-
drawing it out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
And-
winter denial.
Yeah.
The only time you ever see people in a jacket is when it's been 90 and then 40.
Yeah.
Then everyone's got their hoods up and it's like raining, snowing.
Right.
It kind of
like,
has to be
everyone's freaking out.
sleeting a little
But it
bit.
has to be sleeting. There has to be either like intense wind or sleeting, like wet
Right.
precipitation has to be happening. But like it's only when it goes drastic one way or the other that like you'll see jackets. Otherwise,
Right.
no jackets. We figured that out because like where we were coming from, I was wearing my winter coat in like September 30th, and it was like you need to leave town now. Like
Yeah, we were getting some serious stank eye. Like we were like, whoa.
because
like,
I'm just like
they're
I'm the
chasing
kind of
us out
person.
with pitchforks here.
I want to be as warm as possible at all times. And
Yeah,
I
me
just want
too.
to be cozy, and I don't care what
Yeah.
anyone thinks about me. I'm going to wear the coziest, furriest little coat because I feel like it, because there's a chill, But that doesn't fly.
I had to go out earlier, and I asked my wife. I said, "Do I really have to take these slippers off? Because I'm not really going. I'm just walking into the post office with your package, and if I put my shoes on, my feet are gonna get cold." And she says, "Go put your shoes on."
I know this is sort of. I've loved watching the casualification of life from COVID.
Yeah.
The sort of like, do we really like the norms are melting away?
I
know?
literally posted
makes
on
me so
Facebook
happy.
today that I have almost completed a full day in real clothes.
Normal clothes.
I'm still
I saw
there.
that. I saw that.
Yes.
I know. I'm in jeans right now for the
At
first
home?
time in years.
Years.
I feel like this is.
I
Years.
saw you dig those out. I was like, wow.
I know, and I'm just rolled with it because I was like, you know what? It felt good to live a day in real clothes.
I was cosplaying real life.
I was like, yeah,
Oh my
dude,
God.
I'm gonna live this day out in real clothes, and I'm gonna fucking take that extra pressure around the legs. I'm gonna take that thigh
I'm
and
just
knee
like,
pressure. Like
use it
that
to
these
pull myself up by my
jeans
bootstraps.
are putting on me. I'm gonna remember what it was like when I
I
had
wore,
to
like,
wear these motherfuckers every single
Clothes
day.
that I ironed.
Ironed. What?
I was steaming things. I was getting up early. I was giving a shit.
We lived in
What?
Brooklyn, New York before we
Oof.
moved to where we are today.
Oof.
Before the pandemic, and I was working full time. I was like commuting into Manhattan every day. Like we were living complete
I would like to clarify that
opposite life that we lived.
that
now.
commute was also an adventure in itself
Oh, I bet.
because of the amount of
6
times.
trains. And
I don't know if anybody remembers this, but we lived in Brooklyn under Cuomo, and he was very like, yeah, we're fixing the trains, but then like it would be like, no, we're shutting them down. We're actually going to just shut them down. Sorry, you can't get where you need to go. And it would be like from Brooklyn to Manhattan. He would shut off the whole line. And so he would be in Manhattan at like midnight, having gotten off work, and be like, I'm gonna try to get an Uber for $300, I guess. Like,
Oh my god.
that was life. Or he
that
would
only
be like,
happened a couple times. But
no, he would like take a train and get somewhere and then not be able to keep going and then have to like do like the Amazing Race. That's what it is. It was like the Amazing Race every day
yeah, like
to
someday,
get to and from work.
yeah, you
and it would take,
show
like,
up
3
at the line and
hours.
it would be closed,
Oh my god, we sound so cranky right now.
and I would literally have to like.
I just want him to get some credit for that shit because I watched him do that every day. It was crazy to me.
I would sprint 2 blocks. I was in so much better shape. I was like, no shit, like 15
No, he
pounds
liked it.
less.
Yeah, he liked it.
Like I was like, my blood pressure was high. Like I don't know. I felt alive. I felt invigorated.
Yeah. And he would come
I knew
home,
where to
it would
get
be like 1 o'clock in the
I knew where I
morning.
could get a bagel sandwich.
Yeah, and it would be like, yeah, we would feast. So that was the
We
upside.
don't even have bagels here.
Is that we can't even find a bagel where we live. We've talked about this on the stream before too. There's no bagels here, and we've tried. We've searched high and low. We've looked under every corner, and there's no bagels. So I will say, commute on terrible train systems, bagels.
Bagels.
It's tough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's
Oh
a
no, I know.
serious
I mean,
dilemma.
'cause I mean, you know, we ended up here in Cleveland from San Francisco.
Oh wow.
So it's like
Closure, don't even
No.
ask.
Georgia,
Yeah.
I promise you.
all the only thing I can really say is that this would have been the size of an apartment in San Francisco at an affordable level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd be like, oh, my bed pulls off the wall at
Right.
night, and
Yeah.
I scoot these under, and now this is my
Yeah.
bed.
Yeah, we lived in a couple different places in south of Market area and everything. It was very exciting. You know, I was in San Francisco in the Bay Area at very exciting times in technology and life and everything until it just became too expensive to stay there. Yes, I'm in Cleveland, but I bought a house. Yay! It's it's okay. It's okay.
We can relate so
okay.
hard to this story because that's he
Oh,
was.
I just remembered. I gotta finish the story.
Oh my gosh, I love that this story is meandering into all of these different other threads. There's a lot of bagel talk in the chat. I'm gonna let the bagel talk
Oh
happen.
my god, do you remember the bagel conversation? Our epic one that we had in the morning.
Yes, Obama's Weed Man, one of our first
This
subs.
makes me feel like we're on a TV show.
It's a little trippy sometimes, but one of our first subs and someone who's been with us since we were streaming twice a day at 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. every day, because that's the schedule we made for ourselves to make music. And so we were like, well, we'll just do it all live. That'll be like two birds in one. We'll kind of figure out what we're doing on Twitch, and we'll also like have a schedule to work on our album and like really, have structure to it. And that went off the rails like pretty quickly. So
I wouldn't be able to keep up with it.
it was just that we had a plan. We were like, this is our plan, and we're gonna test this out and see how it goes. And like at the end of the plan, we were like, cool, we want to do everything completely differently now. Great, now we know.
Got that contrast.
Yeah. Oh my god, I love the conversation about bagels that's happening. But let's circle back because like the thread I know is coming back to Doctor Who, so I'm really excited.
Oh well, so Doctor Who. I discovered synthesizers. I get all excited about synthesizers. All these years later, I'm getting ready to release this software version of the Synthx at Cherry Audio. I'm paging through a magazine. There's a picture of Peter Howell at the Radiophonic Workshop with a Synthx.
Right.
And I go, wow. Well, I know someone currently with the Radiophonic Workshop, Mark Ayres.
Oh
who,
yes.
He was a composer with them later on.
The historian.
But
the
yes,
curator.
he's the archivist.
Exactly. He is the
Archivist.
BBC archivist. I know him.
Oh,
And
we are like 1 degree away from him now. Yay.
yeah. So, and of course, and of course, it's Mark and Patty and Peter and maybe a floating fourth member who are currently the radio.
They're doing the
Workshop
shows.
band, right?
Yes.
Doing shows. They did a soundtrack. They just did that Fantastic Planet thing.
We were in the UK the day after. This keeps
Oh.
happening.
No, it was in Dublin.
Oh,
They
it
were
was
supposed to
Dublin. We were in
play.
Dublin the day
Yeah,
after.
when they were touring in like the
2014, 15.
2015, yeah, somewhere.
It was
around
like
there.
the first we had heard of this happening, and we saw
Wow.
the poster, and we were like, "Oh my god, we're here for this! Oh my god, it was yesterday."
It was yesterday.
That's happened to
Wow.
other people too, but yeah, sorry, I'm gonna keep
No, that's okay.
interrupting your story. 'cause
No, that's
it's
okay.
inspiring
No.
me.
Yeah, it's never getting told.
So I
Streets
contact Mark and I say Mark, look in this magazine and everything, because Mark knows what I'm working on, and I said, do you know anything about this? Because I have equipment lists from the Radiophonic Workshop, and I never saw a Synthx listed and everything. And he says, oh yeah, it was there. I'm not really sure when it came, but I know when it got sold because I'm the archivist. I
Right.
know those kind of things,
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
And I said, do you know, like, did Peter like use this for any, Doctor Who shows or anything? He's like, well, I'll just put you in touch with him. I said, okay. So we get in touch by email, and my fanboy story is I got to spend an hour on Zoom talking to basically the guy who got me into synth music in the first place. And that never could have happened. That never would have happened. I never would have had a good
Like
excuse.
we don't worship the album covers with Peter Howe's
Yeah.
name every Tuesday at 11 o'clock.
Yeah. I mean, I just like, it's like, but I was very cool about it. I managed, I really did manage to, well, first of all, such a nice guy. I mean, all these guys,
Not surprised. Yeah.
they're so down to earth, but not in a, oh, I don't know, it's just a job, who knows everything. No,
They get the magic. They get
yeah,
that specialness.
he's genuinely interested in it. He still feels it and everything. And I gave him the software, and he gave me a quote for the web page, and it was an awesome experience. I can't think of any other way that
Wow.
that my path would have crossed with
Oh,
that.
that's so cool.
Yeah. That was my fanboy moment, but I managed to keep my cool, and
That
I'm
would be
sure I'm
hard.
sure I'll be talking to him again soon. So
Hell
You're
yeah.
like, you sure you don't want a double license?
hey, do you have Patty's email handy?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Who knows?
Wow. That's wild
So,
because I can imagine like your younger self with the cassette. I'm assuming maybe a headphone situation. Maybe. No?
no, it's
No,
just like
it's
one of
just
those little cassette recorders just sitting
yes.
next to me, and you're hoping that the batteries aren't going to run out.
Yes, yes. Okay, perfect, perfect. Just like laying there listening to this, being inspired, having your imagination go wild, and then to be where you are
Oh yeah,
now.
that's another funny thing about it is imagine how disappointing it is once you actually see the episode of
Yes.
Doctor Who about a year or two later, and it's like, well, I imagined it much prettier and much fancier, and the special effects much more interesting than that.
Exactly.
you know,
That's such
or
an
or
interesting experiment.
I
there would be so many moments where it's like, I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea, is that a chase? Is the doctor falling off of a radio telescope? What's going on here? I'm so confused.
Because it's just music that's like boop, 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 boop. You're like,
Yeah, yeah,
okay, I think something happened.
yeah.
Wow.
But I
Epic.
love that music, and one of the nice, speaking of Mark Ayres and everything, one of the really great things about that is, that he's come back, and he's managed to get,
Ooh, yes.
these Doctor Who soundtracks, Patty Kingsland, The Visitation, the five Doctors, all remastered, and he's
Yeah,
Mark,
he's done a lot of work.
Mark is a gift to humanity.
Oh
And
yeah.
not just Doctor Who. I mean, there are so many
No.
things that he has salvaged
Yeah, he
and
oversaw
restored.
Delia's lost tapes.
Absolutely, yeah. You could. It is perfectly reasonable to ask yourself if we would really be talking about Delia as much as we do today if it weren't for Mark and people like him retroactively trying
Yes.
to get the spotlight on her, and it's a tragedy.
I
And
completely agree with that. I think he is the reason that I knew about her in the way that I do. The
yes,
full understanding of her role
yeah,
and who she was. And then just as deep as it goes, as deep as it can
yeah,
be, he's taken me there. He's always been part of that. I don't think I've had a connection to Delia that I can't connect back to Mark in some way.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's such it's such an important thing, and I can't, and we're only talking, you know, it really over the past 10 years, maybe 15, um has been a real change in awareness of who she is and what she did and what the and what the Radiophonic Workshop was doing at the time and how they did it, interest in her,
Mm-hmm.
that there's that sort of like ooh, what a scandalous omission kind of thing, history story,
Sure.
that human interest story about her and everything. But as a result, all of a sudden we're seeing like videos and films and everything showing the process
Yes.
of what they were doing.
Yes, that hadn't been known.
No, it's like
Like, I know Daphne Oram did some, what you would consider like sort of public broadcast conversations, or even like ads for tape machines and things
Yep.
like that, and trying to get funding for her Ramix machine. But
Yeah.
that's really earlier on.
Right, 50s.
Yeah, and that didn't really take off, if you will.
Yeah.
So yeah, the process of what they were doing, I don't know that anybody was like asking about that at the time, right? It's because of Mark, really.
Yeah. So, and he's such a nice person. Do you guys ever listen to Martin Ware's Electronically Yours podcast?
No.
I don't think I know that.
Ooh, boy, do you
another...
have a lot of catching up of fun to do.
Oh my gosh,
So,
okay.
Martin Ware, formerly of the Human League and Heaven 17, and
amazing.
has a weekly podcast called Electronically Yours, and each week he interviews someone, and he has interviewed Mark, he's interviewed Brian Hodgson,
Oh my God.
Wow.
Tony Visc. I mean, just
everyone.
everyone at this point, he's probably got like, I don't know, 50, 60 some episodes in the can and everything.
Wow.
But and such great stories, producers.
Any Zinoviev?
Did he get Zinoviev before he passed?
I don't think so. I mean, I think they talked about him a lot in the Hodgson episode.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he got a chance to interview him. Yeah, look that up. You don't have to listen to them all and everything, but you'll look through the list and you'll
definitely
you'll bookmark it.
We have something to deep dive into now. This is exciting.
Yeah. I think a lot of people would really get a lot out of that show if they could see the guest list and producers just talking about how they did what they did back in the 70s,
yeah.
80s.
That's what I'm here for.
There's a lot, there's some sex, drugs, and rock and roll stories in there. There's good times and bad. There's like a lot of inspiring stuff. He did an interview with Kim Wilde that was awesome, and
Sweet.
and
oh my
and
gosh,
he's
thank you, the riches of recommendations we have.
just the exchange of information, because now I have to go get the tape leaders book. So
exactly. Okay, so we're going to take questions from the chat before we get kicked out of our Zoom here. Daniel said, as a child fan of Doctor Who, Robert, how long did it take you to find out that the original producer, Verity Lambert, was a woman? What a fun question. Twist.
Not long, fortunately, because I within a year of watching it, I had joined the Doctor Who Appreciation Society, and they had a newsletter and a quarterly fanzine that was excellent at filling me in on on that history. Um, so I knew that, and for anyone who's there's an, there was an excellent special movie a couple years ago called Adventure in Space and Time, which was a dramatization of that Mark Gatiss from League of Gentlemen and everything wrote and produced, and it's a wonderful look at what Verity did, what Hewitt, yeah, as a colored director, Asian director, on Doctor Who, a brilliant performance by David Bradley as William Hartnell and everything. I mean, it's definitely something special to
When did it
Doctor.
come out?
It was part of the that 50th anniversary year, so it was 2016.
Okay.
And it's called An Adventure in Space and Time. But it's an excellent behind the scenes look at what it took to bring at the people. It's dramatization of the people that brought Doctor Who to the screen, and it's giving all these people their sort of chance in the spotlight and reminding everyone what a diverse group of people it was that really made it happen. Highly recommend it.
Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool. I think I remember something I saw that was saying that the appreciation societies were part of like making sure that like as many of the original episodes were archived, and that some of those have to be procured from like other countries' radio stations that they were sent to.
Yeah, that effort to start finding and saving those lost episodes that had been trashed.
Right, because they thought, nobody's gonna want this later. They would just make
right,
episodes and
right.
take over them.
The concept of repeats and everything, and syndication was not really a thing, especially there, So, but they at the time they transferred a lot of that stuff to film and sent it off to other countries, and you also had these fans who, for this is going to sound really weird, used to sit there with cassette recorders recording Doctor Who so that they could send it to me, recording episodes of Doctor Who.
Why that was
and that's the kind of stuff that's a lot of that is that's so they would basically take the video. They would take the film that they'd sent off to a country in Africa that they managed to recover, but had been dubbed over into a local language. They would take that, they would convert it back to video, take some kid's cassette recording. Mark would restore it and make it sound good, bring them together, and that way they could stick it on DVD, or VHS.
Yes,
but that has been the story of a lot of, not all of them, but that's been the story of a lot of or recovered Doctor Who episodes.
I have a question, actually, just based on what you just said. Like, I just caught something there. You said he makes it sound good. So does Mark actually do, like, some audio processing? Like, does he kind of remaster the shit?
Yeah.
Ooh,
He's deeply hands-on.
Is fucking cool.
Yeah, he's done, he took the original mono Doctor Who theme and did a 2.0 stereo mix, and then a couple years later did a 5.1 mix. He takes those awful cassette tapes and processes them and cleans them up.
Oh no. Not this story. Okay. I do feel like we're coming close to the end, but we are not there yet, clearly. We'll see if Robert joins us one more time.
Extra ball.
Yay! Robert's back.
One more time.
We got to get this last story out for sure.
Because they, a lot of this stuff was financed by BBC Enterprises, then BBC Worldwide.
Sure.
Because they've been releasing Doctor Who episodes as audiobooks. They were putting them on VHS, DVDs. They have over the years they have managed to resell, mostly to me, the
all
same
of us, all of us heroes.
the same thing 4 or 5 times.
Right.
You know, it's like woohoo, you know, Doctor Who on audio tape. Well, wait, we've got it on VHS now. You should buy the DVD. Here's Blu-ray and everything. Well, here's a box set.
I know. Each
No wonder.
thing has like an extra thing to it usually too.
Yeah, and that is, and almost everyone is worth getting, because they've also been excellent about, you know, producing documentaries, you know, interviews, you know, with these little known names, you know, behind the scenes, and you know, yeah. So it's, you know, it's been a moneymaker for BBC worldwide, which is not necessarily the same thing as the BBC organization, because BBC organization isn't allowed to profit.
Right.
But fortunately, you know, these things exist, and like, you know, those CDs I was holding up and everything, you know, that work is financed. You know, I think Mark's involvement with Silva Screen Records, Silva Records, goes back to its very beginning in the early 90s, when they were doing a couple Doctor Who CDs, and then but Silva went on to, you know, do other things as well. So yeah, he is, you know, as the archivist, more on the audio side than anything else, and everything, because there's a separate group called the Restoration Team, that has been responsible for, they're the ones that are responsible for, okay, we have a 16 millimeter William Hartnell lost episode of Doctor Who from 1967, or no, 64, from, you know, whenever.
The society will come for you.
I know they'll come for me if I got that wrong. And so we need to get it back onto video, but we also need to apply this technology that makes it watchable on today's HD,
Yes.
you know, systems. We need to invent a technology called VidFire that doubles the frame rate invisibly. You know, it's that kind of stuff is fascinating.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, Doctor Who to me is like the heart of so many areas that we enjoy.
It is.
And it just happens to be like a thing that could just be enjoyed on its own.
Yeah.
It spawns everything from like the music side or the film side or the technologies or just the stories and the other shows and movies that are inspired by it, and just that it's still going.
It's still going, and you know, and it's, I mean, you know, there's, you know,
it's like the micro Korg.
Yeah, it won't die. But you know, it's funny, especially, I mean, you know, it's hard to believe that was, what, 2005 when the show came back. Oh my gosh, that's 17 years ago. Well, I started watching the show when the 17th season was airing, so that's how much time has passed.
Yes.
But now we're since 2005, and you go back and you look at those early episodes with Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant, and there are some like young actors on there that became big, you know, like Andrew Garfield, you know, it's like, oh yeah, he played Spider-Man, you know,
just him.
The Matt Smith's first episode, Olivia from The Crown.
It's just Olivia Colman.
Olivia Colman plays the monster in it and everything.
Yes.
You know,
we talk about that with X-Files too, like
yes,
Star Trek,
so
similar,
many,
yeah. It's, you know,
it's fun to go back and be like, oh, that person.
But definitely X-Files, like you see a lot of like modern celebrity, Jack Black, you know.
Yeah, and directors and writers, you know, who have gone on, like Vince Gilligan.
A lot of Vince Gilligan episodes.
Oh, you know, he was just writing X-Files episodes, you know, and now, you know, these are the people, you know, that are doing, and the same with Star Trek. Naren Shankar. I think I want to say that um sorry, it's
That's a
I'm
lot. I mean, the amount of information that we all carry
yeah.
and have and want to be like file, 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 file. There it is. Pull it out right now at the
Did
perfect time. It's impressive to me.
did
This is the way
mice?
I used to be with records in the 80s. Like
Yes.
it's like I used to be, it's like, I was like really into the 4AD record label.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Cocteau Twins, This Mortal Coil, Dead
Absolutely.
Can Dance. This is like my thing and everything. And I was just like, so it's like, oh yes, John Fryer was the engineer of that album, and John Fryer, you may also know him from his work on blah 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 blah, and Oliver Vaughn did the artwork for these albums as company. I was like, oh my gosh, why am I so obsessed with trivia? But I have no idea where my keys are today.
Yes. I love it. I think
Couldn't tell you where they are right now.
couldn't tell you. I will still, as I'm walking out the door, wonder where they are. The this idea specifically because you brought up 4AD, and I think similar to what we were touching on with Doctor Who is that there's like this universe that it's not just like a band you're into or a label you're into. It's like, oh, these people are working together in these ways that I can like dig into and like have inform my experience of the art more.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's like the puzzle part of my brain, I think. That I like having my own kind of experience with something. Where I'm like following these threads and digging into stuff and seeing how they connect and experience like building that universe outside of just like the show or the band or the music or whatever.
Yeah. I loved that era. Yeah, maybe it still exists. I genuinely just don't follow whatever. I just don't follow modern music all that much anymore.
Sure, what would that even mean?
So,
Nobody knows.
you know, but and so maybe it's still the same. But I do love in that era that there were like labels that were 4AD was just remarkable the way that people were going from one working on one thing together. They'd all come together and do the This Mortal Coil
Mhm.
albums, where every track was just sort of a mix and match. You from Wolfgang Press and you from Modern English, and Liz Fraser from Cocteau Twins. You guys do a song, and
Yeah, because they had like shared like facilities and
yeah,
time and space or shows they were playing on together. So like
yeah.
you're in this space together and it's just like stuff is gonna happen.
And
And
you go
that's a
back and
very
you
cool like I think one of the things that maybe people don't quite realize about like why it's so sad that everyone's canceling all their tours is that like when you're on the road like parallel with other bands and you get to like maybe meet up at a festival, you know what I mean, like this whole
yeah,
like interplay of being on the road and what that does for the projects that are going to come out of those interactions
yeah,
is like
yeah.
not it's not been happening, it's
No.
definitely struggling to happen. Sorry, I took it kind of dark again, but yeah, that's what that was making me think of. Is like it's not just like the times we live in and it's a digital age. It's like also this, loss of movement, of physical movement and geography. Like bringing it full circle to what we talked about at the top of the conversation with the fact of geography being an actual impedance to certain types of
Yeah, I mean,
connections.
maybe the internet has made the world too big.
Mm-hmm.
It's too easy for me to talk to and make connect with someone in the UK versus someone who could be on the other side of town that I ought to be doing a project with.
I think about
You
that all
know,
the time. I think about that all the time. Like, I don't know necessarily my neighbors, but I've got like this huge online community, and it's like a little bit trippy sometimes. Think
yeah,
about that.
that is very that's same here. I don't know, and I can't work. This is a tightly dense neighborhood. I don't know
Right.
my neighbors. I don't know my
Yeah.
neighbors. I don't want to.
I mean, yeah, it has to be true of everyone because we're all saying
Yeah.
that, and it's just like the way we live feels very utilitarian. Like I live here because I can have this space in this house and I can be near the grocery store and I'm doing my errands, my life thing, but that's separate. I also live inside the internet. And that's a
Yeah.
completely different experience than the real world. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
trippy to think about.
I gotta say, I'm very grateful because I'm not sure how without it, as much as I trash internet, social media,
Sure.
stuff like that, everything. How else would I have found Galaxy Electric? I mean, that's awesome. How would I have found my job? Our entire company is virtual. We don't,
That's
you know,
wow. Yeah, exactly. Like I do think that the proliferation or sort of like the aspect that we were kind of shitting on earlier about the online synth community, it's actually like this is the positive outlook side of it. Of like I wouldn't know this much information this quickly because we're all inputting the information
People
ourselves.
have banded together.
We're creating the conversation. We are the platform. You know what I mean?
Because they like sounds that come from these weird instruments.
I would have to have like 75 in-person conversation hangs to get the kind of interaction that I have quickly on the internet.
Yeah.
Or
You know what
even
I mean?
through one Twitch stream where
Yeah,
we're all
Yeah.
chatting
exactly.
at each other.
Yeah. Yeah. This
In real time. Like, this is fucking wild right now. Like, what the fuck? We're talking. You're in Ohio. We're in fucking Indiana.
Wow, you're
Like,
next door in
I know.
Indiana.
Yeah.
but like, still, like, it's still amazing. Like,
It is.
and we got people like coming
From
in
all
and
over the world.
Yes.
telling us how they feel about what we're saying.
It
right
is
now.
so trippy. It's so trippy.
Yeah.
On that note, I am going to say that this is as far as my train. I'm going to tap out first. I'm going to tap out on the Synthx first.
Tapping
Nah,
out. I'm
yeah.
tapping out on my 909 keys.
I just
You
know we could be up until 1 a.m. at this point.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know where this could end. This could just keep going and going and going. And I feel like I'm never going to stop, but my body will stop. So
This
that's
could
what I'm
be
like, okay.
A sleepover where now we watch a bunch of Doctor Who episodes.
Yes! That's what it needs to be. That is the difference between virtual and in-person. When you're in-person hanging, sometimes you would have those moments where you're like, you meet up with someone and then the day just keeps going and you just keep hanging out and doing stuff and then now it's a sleepover. This is like when you're 10. But I'm having nostalgia.
It still
for those.
sounds attractive to me now.
It doesn't happen as much over Zoom as it would in real life. You'd be like, oh, I guess I'm staying over. Like, that would just happen. Is that just me? Okay, never mind. no one is picking up
No
what
one's
I'm
with
throwing
you
down.
on that one.
Anyway,
I know what you're saying.
thank you so much for being here. This was
Hey,
such
thank you
a
for
treat.
having me. It's been fun. I know we'll continue to be in touch and get was it Dewodge Jr.? Dewodger?
Oh, Dwoger! Yes.
Closure.
We'll connect.
Dwoger-
Dwoger
get
is always
Dwoger's-
hanging out, so we'll definitely
Get Dwodger's
connect.
information to me. And by the way, I did want to scroll back up and say if he's still here, Zone Boy 1 talking about Naren Shankar and Farscape and The Expanse. Those are exactly what I was trying to think of. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
That's what was escaping me at the moment. And
Oh gosh, we haven't talked
yeah.
about The Expanse on this channel yet, and I could do a whole episode.
oh
talking to
look, and
somebody
now
about
Zone Boy
Expanse.
1 is now Zone Boy 1's not going to let us go because now he's name dropping Tristram Carey.
Oh no, we talked about Tristan Carey last time because Tristan Carey did the music for what movie that we watched recently?
Quatermass.
Quatermass.
Oh, right, Quatermass, of course. Why I'm like totally
Sorry,
blanking.
Quatermass.
Because I was out of context. Yes, Tristan Carey is someone that we were like, we need to do a podcast episode.
That would be great.
Such a good one. I'll send my email via Facebook. Okay, Dwoger, we will look out for it. Definitely don't. We haven't forgotten about you. Thank you for being here,
Nope,
hanging out.
not at all.
For the love.
Not at all. I'll stay on top of them. I know how forgetful they are.
I know you got to catch us at the right moment.
And thank you so much. This was a ball. This is like this is this kind of stuff is why I do like my job so much. Is one of the things I like about my job so much is, and this isn't for my job. It's just the connections, and I really appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone who's tuned in, and yeah,
Yeah, totally. It's like a pipeline to like having an excuse know that we're like on the same wavelength.
Yes, it helps me feel very grounded because a lot, like I said, I work from home. I work, I write this stuff and I do it all the time and everything. But sometimes I feel very disconnected, from all I do. You lose that sort of human element, and everyone just becomes like the next marketing project and everything. And
absolutely,
this is much relief for me.
Oh, I'm so glad. We feel the same way. Truly,
Absolutely.
like we're going about our day. Everything's crazy, blah blah blah, and then we know, oh, we have synth friends, and then you just like tune everything out and just hang out and like have fun for no reason. There's like no, like you said, there's no like business purpose for any of this.
Yeah, right. Fun. Exactly.
It's just fun and like I need that.
I mean, we're just at the pub right now, and Dwojer. Remember, we could basically trade signs, patches back and forth now. Like, we could be signs buddies.
Roger, watch out. Be careful. Gus is coming for you.
We got something in common now.
Oh my gosh, this is awesome. Oh, I love everyone in the chat. Thank you for your support of the Tristram Carey podcast idea. Running a Doctor Who Discord sounds like something that probably... Oh, running Doctor Who on the Discord 24/7. Watch it, having it like something you can tune into all the time. I love that idea.
I really got to try Discord again. My mind melted the first time I gave it a try a couple years ago, and I haven't been back since. But but maybe I will.
Just if you want to vote on our movies every week. You can just go in there to do that.
My advice is, because I felt the same way, honestly, and still feel the same way. My advice is just to just follow the shit that you actually are gonna need to know some stuff about. Do not follow everything that you follow on all the other platforms.
We follow. At work we all stay in touch with Slack, and there are lots of channels and everything like that. So maybe my mind is better geared to handle Discord the next time around and everything. I
absolutely believe that after I had to use Slack for the first time. You're right. It changes your brain a little bit.
Yeah.
And now you can handle Discord for sure.
Okay.
It was definitely a learning curve for me too, but I think that it's a little bit sort of like how I felt about Twitch at first too.
Yeah, right.
What is this universe with this language and this way of being that I've never experienced before? And now I don't even think about it. It's like old hat.
All right.
I'm in too many Discords now.
I guess you'll be seeing me at the Cosmic Clubhouse then.
Yay! So. Oh, I can't wait. Okay, awesome. That's perfect. What a lovely way to end this. We will see you in the clubhouse. Have a wonderful evening,
and I will see you at the clubhouse and future screens. And thank you again, everyone. All right.
Thanks, everyone, for being awesome and for welcoming Robert in. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, we are just in the regular stream. It's just the two of us now. Ooh, Obama's big man. You actually ran a server? That's a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot going on in Discord. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for hanging out with us and Robert. And I'm so glad everybody's so into Doctor Who and everything. That made it so much more fun. I knew we were going to talk about sci-fi stuff, but I didn't know we were going to get so deep into Doctor Who and his personal stories about it. That was incredible. We will be back Saturday for movie night, so again, jump in the Discord if you want to vote on what we're watching. We're going to try to make it as spooky and Halloween-y as possible, so that'll be this weekend. And then we're doing an ambient stream on Sunday as part of a Sunday raid train. So we'll be going live at a Golden Shrimp Guild raid train, just like a casual Sunday one.
Cash Sunday.
Everyone's just doing an hour, and it's just going for a couple hours. And we're all just gonna raid each other, and that'll be on Sunday at 5. But right now we're gonna raid Ambient, who is doing some sound experimentation. So thank you all for hanging out. Hope you enjoy the book club, and we will see you soon. Let me see, did I do this right? Oh, no, it didn't let me. That's hilarious. It didn't let me read. So I'm gonna try again. That's hilarious. Alright. was like, wait, that's a thing? It makes sense if you're doing something and you don't want to be like interrupting or you don't want just like random people. I totally get that. But I think
What happened?
I tried to raid someone that I thought was like doing synth stuff and it just didn't let me, and then I was like, oh, okay, that's probably for the best because maybe they weren't. It's all good. We're gonna raid a DJ because those are the vibes I'm looking for right now. We have some DJ friends, we have some modular synth friends, we have some people who do like just miscellaneous things. We're still always growing and looking for more people to hang out with on Twitch, so feel free to send us any recommendations of people you think we should hang out with. We will see you on Saturday for Sci-Fi Movie Night. Thank you all for being here and making this such a fun experience. I can't wait to hang out again. And we will see you there.